You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show on K98 Talk. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another fact-filled, fun-filled, and if you're in the chat room, there are free cookies while they last, episode of the Conservative Curmudgeon Show. I am your host with the most, the Grouch. Glad to have you aboard. Now, before we get rolling through tonight's topics, I'm gonna be calling out a little hypocrisy on a couple of different states elected officials. So in order for me to feel right about doing that, let me first assure everybody out there that you just thought that the politics in your state were screwed up. Okay? We're going to start right here in my state. Not my home state, but my state. This is where I live now. This is not where I'm from. But I live in Alabama. And if you want to talk about some messed up politics, we have a governor who may or may not be impeached over abuse of power allegations that stemmed from an extramarital affair that caused him to divorce while in office. We have our Speaker of the House in the state is currently on trial for 23 counts of ethics violations, some of which are felony counts. And we have a suspended state Supreme Court justice, the Chief Justice. Chief Justice Roy Moore. You may know him from the Ten Commandments flap of years gone by. Suspended now from doing his job by the Judicial Ethics Board. So, you know, you just thought you had it rough in your state, you know, and let's go back to the governor for a second too, because there is one of the perks of having a state that nestles along such a gorgeous coastline, like the short little coastline we have here in Alabama. But let me tell you something, it's about 64 miles of just absolute beauty. If you've ever been anywhere in the Florida Panhandle from, say, west of Apalachicola to Pensacola, the Alabama coast is very, very much like that. Just beautiful white sugar sands, gorgeous water, sea oats, you know, all the sea life you can imagine. We have manatees here too, just like Florida does. But the governor has a mansion down at the beach. And this very same governor, who's under all this scrutiny for the ethics violations and the extramarital affairs and the abuse of power, and you name it, he had 94 staff members sign letters of confidentiality right after he discovered that there were actually recordings, telephone recordings of his conversations with his mistress that his wife had managed to obtain. And he's now claiming that was just because he had a new chief of staff who thought it would be a good idea, that the timing is inconsequential. Yeah, you know, whatever. But anyway, this governor's mansion, they did some work on down there at the beach, and they constructed this new wall around the property. And when they built this new wall, they actually built into the county-owned right-of-way and deeded property to the homeowners association in this neighborhood that allows them to traverse the passageway where this wall used to not be to get to the beach. But now he's built the wall out into the passageway and cut it off. And instead of admitting their mistake, what the state's now looking at trying to do is circumvent the county and the property owners and have the piece of property declared unusable and condemn it so that they could take it over after the wall's already built on it. So again, just keep all that in mind as we delve through other states' politics. You know, things aren't always as bad as they could be. I challenge anybody in any state to top that for 3 officials under high-end scrutiny and or judicial prosecution or ethics violations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, we'll touch back on that maybe a little later when we get to the state of Virginia and the irony going on there. But first of all, tonight, the big topic, well, maybe not the biggest topic, but the one that's at the top of the list, is the Affordable Care Act. Now, I know you're out there, you say, gee, I've been listening to you for 2 years now, and you have always harped on the Affordable Care Act. And yes, I have, and with good reason. Even before it became law, I was harping on the Affordable Care Act. And we all know why now. You know, I mean, I haven't told you anything about it that isn't true. So here's, you know, it's about time Congress caught up to this, because this is something that I told you was already happening at least a year ago, if not longer. But the Department of Health and Human Services is insisting that the Affordable Care Act not only expanded health insurance to more Americans, but it also, quote unquote, now you have to listen, this is HHS talking, made everyone's insurance better. Yes, they actually think that. But some Republicans are asking, what good is the health insurance if sky-high deductibles mean you never get to use it? Now, it's a very fair question. The problem is where were they a year and a half ago when I started jumping all over that? The Democrats, according to them, and I mean, unfortunately, it's been upheld by the Supreme Court now, the Affordable Care Act is a mandate, okay? Not to get care, but to get coverage. They don't care whether you actually receive health care. They just want you to pay for the coverage. This is a money grab, folks. Money grab. This is the Democrats seizing your money, taking it without proper representation. They're just stealing. That's what it boils down to. What many people are finding is that the coverage is not at all of value to them because they can't get care. Either the doctors don't take Obamacare, which many we covered on a program previously. We said that it was about 26% at that time had either gone to strictly one or two insurance plans, or they had gone to straight cash only. I'm sure that number has climbed since then. But anyway, they either don't take Obamacare or the deductibles are so high that they're never able to get the insurance. The president may call this a victory for the American people, but it really is, it's not something that he should be proud of, not at all. Healthcare.gov is going to start reporting the 2017 premium increases for Obamacare policies sold on the exchange. And just like last year and the year before, folks, the news is not good for the American people. For instance, one state that's already reporting is New Hampshire, and they're showing a 40% increase for 2017. In New York, it will be above 40%. New Mexico, where Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Mexico pulled out a year ago, they're talking about coming back in, but only if they can get a rate of over 80% increase. So, people that can still get their insurance, they may be the lucky ones in the sense that so many people are no longer even able to get the insurance they've had. It's just a sinking ship, folks. It really is. When you look at the companies around the country selling insurance, about 25% were able to make money last year. The only way they did it is because they set the deductible so high that for people who had that insurance, the deductibles were so high that they never actually got to the point where they used the insurance. They were just paying out of pocket all the way through to meet the deductible. That's a damn shame. And it ought to be a damn crime. In Idaho, the most commonly sold quote-unquote silver plan is considering deductibles of $6,850. If you have insurance with a deductible of $6,850, is there any chance you're actually going to use that insurance? I mean, really? The average person? No. You're not going to go through $6,850. Yeah. President Obama went on the attack years ago, before the health care law was passed, talking about junk insurance and what people don't need. And you know, what we're finding is most people on the Obamacare exchanges, it's what President Obama is making them buy. You know, the 30-year-old working professional male that has to carry birth control insurance. You know, it's a damn shame, and we're finding out, sadly, what the real cost of Obamacare is. But I got news for you, folks. We're not done yet. We're not done finding what the real cost is, because we haven't got to it yet. We got 40% increases coming for 2017. I promise you that if it's not repealed and done away with by 2018, the increases will be that big again. Again. All right, so that's enough harping on ACA. You know I'm not a fan of it. I never have been a fan of it. You're probably not a fan of it, too, if you're listening to this program. If you're listening to this program and you are a fan of it, you really need to contact me on Twitter at TCC_Grouchy, because we need to have some long talks. But anyway, next up, Obama accused of undermining peace talks. So Islamabad's outspoken interior minister has lashed out at the United States for the drone strike that killed Taliban leader Akhtar Mohammad Mansour in Pakistani territory, accusing it of sabotaging peace talks with the terrorist group. You can't expect the Taliban to come to the negotiating table after killing their leader, said Chaudhry Nasir Ali Khan. He said that at a press conference in the Capitol. He said, you can't initiate peace talks and hope for its success when on the other side you're following the policy of aggression. Khan recalled that Mansour had thrown his support behind a Taliban delegation, which held a dialogue with Afghan officials hosted by Pakistan in Muri near Islamabad last year. We were seeing some hope, but this incident occurred sabotaging the dialogue process, said Khan, referring to Sunday's drone strike on a car in which Mansour and a driver were traveling in Pakistan's Baluchistan province. The U.S. supports an ailing Afghan-led reconciliation process between Kabul and Taliban figures who agree to renounce violence, abandon their allegiance with al-Qaeda, and abide by the Constitution of Afghanistan. But both the U.S. and Afghan governments charge that Mansour was in no way promoting dialogue. Mansour was neither encouraging people to talk nor supporting the talks, nor supportive of reconciliation, they're saying. So Secretary of State John Kerry, yes, that's the guy that looks like a giant horse head with a bag of oats strapped to his mouth. If people want to stand in the way of peace, continue to threaten and kill and blow up people, we have no recourse but to respond, and I think we responded appropriately. This guy's a buffoon. But, in this case, I'm going to give Obama credit where it's due, okay? He didn't pull the trigger, but he gave approval for the strike in the ultimate sense, in that the CIC does do that. He may not have known that Mansour was in the car. He may not have known that it was Mansour's car. He may have just known it was a target of opportunity and gave the okay. Whatever the situation, it was the right strike. Okay? Anytime we can take out leadership that is talking in ways that would promote terrorism, we should respond. That doesn't change the fact that Kerry and Obama share a brain and neither one of them have a complete half between them. That's right, a half between them, even though they share one. It's a complicated math equation, but don't worry about it. They'll cover it in Common Core for you. So, Khan, the Defense Ministry spokesman, Khan, complained that the killing of the Taliban leader has put Pakistan in a very difficult situation. This act is totally illegal, unacceptable, and against the sovereignty and integrity of the country, he said. Now, we may have a problem. Khan claimed that the U.S. only notified Pakistan about the strike 7 hours after it occurred. Pardon me. Asked about that claim Tuesday, State Department spokesman Mark Toner, he's of the famous Toners, said that he would not discuss, quote unquote, operational details of the incident. But he added that these are very narrow windows in any case, and it's not just with friends and allies or partners or whoever, but in any of these instances, it's absolutely vital to keep operational security. So he danced around it, basically. He did what's the idiot's name? Josh Earnest. Yeah, he did a Josh Earnest on it. Did you ever think you'd miss Jay Carney? For crying out loud, as horrible as he was, he's infinitely better than Josh Earnest. God bless him. Asked whether Pakistan wasn't informed beforehand because it could not be trusted, Toner reiterated that operational security trumps a need to inform other governments. The world will turn into a battle zone, Khan said at his press conference. The U.S. sought to justify drone strikes by declaring that it will target its enemies wherever they are. But we have a problem with this logic because if every country starts working on the approach that the U.S. has taken, then the world will turn into a huge battle zone, he said. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry denied Islamabad's claims that the man suspected to be Mansour had crossed from Iran into Pakistan on the day of his death. Pakistani officials said earlier a Pakistani passport found in the car struck by a missile on Saturday contained a valid Iranian visa and had been used to enter the country at a road border crossing from Iran hours before the strike. Pakistani and Afghan media outlets published photos of the passport issued in the name of Wali Mohammed, but with a photo bearing a resemblance to Mansour. Security officials cited in media reports that the passport holder had spent more than a month in Iran. Now, why would you do that if you were trying to promote peace in Pakistan? But Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Hossein Jabiri Ansari, denied the Taliban leader had been in Iran. Of course. It's like the old Chuck Norris movie. We categorically deny the existence of American POWs. Yes, we get it. The concerned authorities in Iran reject that such a person had entered Pakistan via Iran at the stated date, he told a weekly press briefing. Despite being respectively Shiite and Sunni, Iran and the Taliban have colluded over the past decade with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, providing IEDs and other lethal weapons used by the Afghan group against the U.S. and coalition forces. So Pakistan, themselves has a long, close relationship with the Taliban, which its Inter-Services Intelligence Agency helped to set up and supported for many years. After the fundamentalist militia seized control of most of Afghanistan by the mid-1990s, Pakistan was one of just 3 countries to have diplomatic relations with the emirate in Kabul, despite its alliance with al-Qaeda. Now, after al-Qaeda attacked the U.S. on 9/11, and we all remember that day, Pakistan, under strong American pressure, formally broke ties with the Taliban. The regime was toppled by a U.S.-led coalition in late 2001, but suspicions persisted that the ISI elements continued to collude with the group, including the affiliated Haqqani network. And if you don't know about the Haqqani, you need to look that up because we don't have time to go into it tonight. But suffice it to say that they are another outreach of terrorists. Oh, goodness, excuse me. So anyway, Toner, he said Tuesday that the U.S. has consistently expressed our concern to the highest levels of the government of Pakistan about their continued tolerance for Afghan Taliban groups. And that includes the Haqqani network. With Mansour now dead, some regional analysts had predicted that the head of the Haqqani network, Sirajuddin Haqqani, how convenient that he has the same name, who has a $10 million U.S. reward on his head, may succeed him. $10 million. I might have to go hunting. But on Wednesday, the Taliban announced that its new leader was Hibatullah Akhundzada, formerly a deputy to Mansour. It named Haqqani as one of 2 deputies to Akhundzada. So this is not the first time that Khan, the interior minister for Pakistan, has criticized the U.S. counterterror operations along the Afghan-Pakistan border. When Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan leader Hakimullah Massoud was slain in a U.S. drone strike in late 2013, shortly before the government was to launch the latest in a long series of failed peace initiatives with the terrorist group, Khan called the killing the murder of peace. You hate to pass up these targets. You know, they put themselves out there. They're leading these terrorist groups to conduct terrorist activities against people of the West. And at the same time, they want to pretend like they're negotiating for peace. You know, it's tough. It's a tough call, and I prefer erring on the side of taking them out than patronizing them and letting them continue on doing what they're doing. But at the same time, I mean, you know, you got to feel bad for the people of Pakistan, because when these Taliban groups get struck, the retaliation is usually against the civilian population, not the military population. So it's a tough spot, and I get where they're coming from, but they got to understand, you know, that these terrorists, they have to be stopped. End of story. Boom. So the TTP is blamed for hundreds of suicide attacks at the cost of thousands of Pakistani lives since 2007. So earlier this month, Khan reacted strongly after GOP presidential hopeful Donald Trump. He said that as president, he would get Pakistan to release in 2 minutes the doctor imprisoned after helping the U.S. to track down an al-Qaeda chief, Osama bin Laden, in his Pakistani hideout. And now Khan, and you got to kind of like this, because he's standing up for their sovereignty and their rights as an independent nation. He said, contrary to Mr. Trump's misconception, Pakistan is not a colony of the United States of America. And he added that Shakil Afridi's fate would be decided by Pakistan's courts and governments, not by Trump, even if he becomes president. Now, Pakistan has received more than $33 billion in U.S. aid, including reimbursements for counterterrorism efforts since 2001. This year, it is the fifth largest recipient of U.S. foreign assistance. $33 billion, and they are number 5 on the list of recipients. It's unreal. Absolutely unreal. But anyway, that takes us to the bottom of the hour. It's just about time to pay the bills, if you will. I know that there are people in the chat room, but I hear there are still free cookies if you want to join them. I will tell you how just as soon as we get back. So stay tuned, stay seated, or actually go take care of your water break and bathroom break and all that good stuff. But be back in about 3 minutes, okay? And we'll see you then.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight.
Hey, this is Dave Bray, America's Patriotic Rocker. Just giving you a shout out. Make sure you stay tuned and listen in to K98 Talk.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again. If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com. If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and always stay in the kitchen when cooking at high temperatures. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
The treatment doesn't get any better than what you receive at St. Jude. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
And free, we're Americans.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we get swinging back into the topics of the night, we need to take a quick second here and pay the in-house bills. But before we even do that, we want to take a very quick second and wish a very happy birthday to Rowdy Rick Robinson. He is producing tonight's show out of the kindness of his heart on his birthday. I'm such an SOB for making him do that, and I forgot all about it after I knew it this morning.
Yeah, so damn curmudgeon-y bastard.
Yes, I know. I'm horrible. But if you're out there on Twitter, give him a shout. Tell him happy birthday. It's at AOTR_host. Am I right, Rick?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's right. So happy birthday, Rowdy Rick, the venerable one. We do have a little special bite for you here, Rick. Just to make sure that you stay in check tonight, these guys will be coming to check on you. All right.
Whatever. I know most of those guys.
Anyway, just make sure that you're not out there drinking and driving, because that would be a clown move. So anyway, Rick won't be on the air tonight. So, again, I am unfollowable. I get it. Okay, I know that's just how it happens, but
hey, I will technically still be on the air. There will be an episode playing that nobody's heard on Talk yet. So technically, I'm still going to be on the air, just not live.
Okay, so and that's still after a 2-hour break. So I'm still unfollowable. You can't rain on my parade, brother.
It's only because it takes me 2 hours to louse the studio after you're out of here.
Well, there is that. I'm sorry. If you guys would get better overpasses in Oklahoma City, I wouldn't have so bad of a problem.
Touche, good sir, touche.
Anyway, yeah. Hey, while I got you on, Rick, how about that overpass that collapsed the other day up there, buddy? What gives with that?
You met my governor. Enough said.
Yes, I met Governor Fallon. The roads were the only complaint I had about Oklahoma City, folks. They really were. It could have been better. I've driven on worse, though. But that would have been the only complaint I had about Oklahoma City. A grand place to be, I promise you. Anyway, so tomorrow night we got what are we calling Dr. Lou or Dr. A and Lou's show now is what?
Wake Up America Radio.
America Radio. We got Game On with Stacy and JD. We got you tomorrow night. Who else is on tomorrow night?
We have it'll be me and Jen actually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have a co-host now. And we work
Tuesday, Thursday. You and Jen?
Yeah.
Really?
So, we've been doing that show for like a month now. The fact that you don't know hurts my feels.
Actually, I knew she was doing some shows with you. I didn't know it was a permanent type gig.
Yep.
Well, lucky you. Very lucky you. But that's okay. Good for you, too. Anyway, so we have that going on. Rick and Jen tomorrow night. And Friday, I have no clue what's going on. But tune in anyway, because I'm sure it's going to be really good. And shame on me for not knowing, but, I don't.
Damn curmudgeon-y bastard.
Yeah, I know it. That's what happens when you live, way down here on the edge of the freaking dry land. But anyway, okay. We're going to bounce this back home. We've been overseas for a little while talking about Pakistan and Iran and this and that and the other thing and drone strikes. And we're going to bounce back home now, and we got to talk about this because this, folks, this is something we all know that's going on, but yeah, we just didn't know how bad it was. The Pew Research Center analysis released Tuesday showed that for the first time since 1880, that's 1880, not 1980, in the United States, living with parents is the most common arrangement for 18 to 34-year-olds. According to the most recent data from 2014, 31.6% of this age bracket of quote-unquote young adults were living with a spouse or a partner in their own household. That's 31.6%. And 32.1% of that same age bracket are living in their parents' home. There is also a gender divide with significantly more young men living with their parents than young women. 35% of young women live with a spouse or romantic partner, and just 29% live in their parents' homes, compared to 28% of men living with a spouse or romantic partner and 35% living with their parents. 35%. Do you know how many million freaking beta males that is? I shudder at the future of this country. I really do. But anyway, Pew noted that for men ages 18 to 34, living at home with mommy and or daddy has been the dominant living arrangement since 2009, while young women are on the cusp of crossing over this threshold. They are still more likely to be living with a spouse or romantic partner. The number of millennials living with their parents is not at a record high. Holy hell, really? This arrangement peaked around 1940 when about 35% of the nation's 18 to 34-year-olds lived with mom and or dad. And we're approaching that number, okay? So we're within 3%. But what has changed is the relative share adopting different ways of living in early adulthood. They explained with the decline of romantic coupling, pushing living at home to the top of a much less uniform list of living arrangements, Pew attributed the overall increase in millennials living at home to a variety of factors, including the postponement of, if not retreat from, marriage, pointing out that the median age of first marriage has risen steadily for decades. Pew pointed out that their past analysis projected that as many as 1 in 4 of today's young adults may never marry. Trends in both employment status and wages have likely contributed to the growing share of young adults who are living in the home of their parents, and this is especially true of young men. Employed young men are much less likely to live at home than young men without a job. Gee, really? And employment among young men has fallen significantly in recent decades. The share of young men with jobs peaked around 1960 at 84%. In 2014, only 71% of 18 to 34-year-old men were employed. Similarly, with earnings, young men's wages after adjusting for inflation have been on a downward trajectory since 1970 and fell significantly between 2000 and 2010. And as wages have fallen, the the share of young men living in their home of their parents has risen. Now, that makes all the sense in the world statistically speaking. Not statistically speaking. What in the hell's wrong with these young men that they're not out there working, busting their hump, finding something, creating something, instead of sucking on the blanket that they had when they were 4 years old, like little Linus in the Peanuts comic strip. Instead, they're 30 years old, sucking on that same blanket and thumb in mommy and daddy's basement because they won't get off their sorry asses and actually work for a living. You know, the problem with young people is that they mistake work for something that's evil instead of an opportunity. You know, you don't get places by sitting on your ass waiting on places to come to you. You have to get off your ass and go places. Now you know why they call me the Grouch. All right, so sticking at home. Oh, we got some rubbing in the face to do here. Yeah, remember Freddie Gray in Baltimore? The man that was arrested and died in police custody, and the mayor and the city prosecutor, they came out guns blazing after the cops, and they put the cops on trial. Well, guess what? Prosecutor Marilyn Mosby moved too quickly to file charges against 6 officers in the Freddie Gray case. Given that after 2 trials, there have been no convictions, and one of the 6 was acquitted on Monday on what turned out to be shaky evidence. The Baltimore judge overseeing the cases and who acquitted Officer Edward Nero on Monday said the state failed to prove its case on any of the charges. That's got to sting, folks. That has got to sting. Harvard University professor Alan Dershowitz said he believed Monday's verdict was an example of the legal system looking at the facts of the case without being influenced by race or community pressure. He said he absolutely believed Mosby overreached in bringing charges against the 6 officers. Dershowitz said there is no question she acted irresponsibly in a telephone interview. She acted politically, she acted too quickly, and the public ought to make her pay a price for seeking to distort justice. Baltimore Circuit Court Judge Barry Williams acquitted Nero of the assault, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment charges in connection with Gray's arrest last year outside a West Baltimore housing complex. Now, Gray died on April 19, 2015, a week after his neck was broken while handcuffed, shackled, but left unrestrained by a seatbelt in the back of a police van. The circumstances of his arrest and his subsequent death triggered protests demanding justice for Gray. On the day of his funeral, rioting and looting broke out, and the National Guard responded, and a curfew was imposed. Now, Judge Williams delivered his verdict in the racially charged case before a packed courtroom Monday. Nero's parents and his brothers sat in the front row. A few rows away, Gray's stepfather, noticeably absent, however, was State Attorney Mosby, who had been present when Williams declared a mistrial in the trial for Officer William Porter in December. After announcing charges against the officers last May, one day after receiving the police department's investigation, while a tense city was still under curfew, Mosby did not shy away from the spotlight. She posed for magazine photos, sat for TV interviews, and appeared on stage at a Prince concert in Gray's honor. Yeah, how'd that work out? After the acquittal, Nero's lawyer sought to send a strong message to her. Officer Edward Nero, his wife, and family are elated that his nightmare is finally over, wrote Mark Zayon and Allison Levine in a statement. The state's attorney for Baltimore City rushed to charge him as well as the other 5 officers, completely disregarding the facts of the case and the applicable law. His hope is that the state's attorney will reevaluate the remaining 5 officers' cases and dismiss their charges. Mosby spokeswoman Rochelle Ritchie, citing a gag order in the case, declined to comment on Monday. There's no gag order. The gagging is them choking on their own BS because they did overreach and over-prosecute. David Weinstein, a Florida attorney and former federal civil rights prosecutor, said the verdict will probably serve as a wake-up call for prosecutors. He said this speaks to the notion a lot of people had when this first happened, which is that it was a rush to judgment. The state's attorney was trying to balance what she had with the public outcry and call to action given the climate in Baltimore across the U.S. concerning policing, and it was definitely overreaching. Although the judge's ruling referred specifically to Nero's case, the other officers will be tried separately for their alleged roles. He rejected nearly every claim the state made at trial, repeatedly telling prosecutors they'd failed to prove any of the counts beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecutors had argued that Nero and colleague Garrett Miller illegally detained and arrested Gray without probable cause, and that Nero was reckless when he failed to buckle Gray into a seatbelt during the van's second stop blocks from the arrest. Zayon argued that Nero wasn't involved in Gray's arrest, having only arrived after the 25-year-old man was in handcuffs. As for the seatbelt, Zayon said not only was Nero unaware of a newly revised policy requiring officers to buckle in prisoners, the previous policy gave officers discretion based on circumstances, but that it was the van driver's responsibility to make sure Gray was safe. Okay, so they're doing a little finger pointing to a different officer, even though he's hoping that he's found innocent. But in this verdict, Williams said he believed Miller, who took the stand as the state's principal witness and testified that he alone detained and handcuffed Gray. The judge told prosecutors they failed to prove Nero did anything wrong. In terms of the arrest that the state alleged was an assault, Williams ruled Nero wasn't involved. As for his failure to buckle Gray in, Williams said there was no proof Nero knew he had a duty to belt the prisoner in or that he failed to do so on purpose. Boom. So, trial number 3, that of the van driver, Cesar Goodson, who prosecutors believe is the most culpable in Gray's death, is set to begin in 2 weeks, and they have charged him with second-degree murder. Now, I hope that for the sake of the officers, that the charges against them are completely dropped after this. But again, this is supposed to proceed in 2 weeks. We'll see if they're able to prove anything against Goodson, who would be the quote-unquote responsible party as the van driver for making sure that the prisoners are safe in the van. There may be that there's some culpability here. I don't know. I guess time will tell, and a jury will tell, and the judge will tell. But so far, 0 for 2 for the officers in the Freddie Gray case by Marilyn Mosby. Miss Mosby, I know you're not listening, but I just want you to know that you are a piece of slime for going after these officers for doing their jobs. Now that that's over with, what I was talking about at the start of the show with politics in your state, in my state, being shambles, there is now an FBI probe into campaign donations to Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. And this could end up being very dangerous, not only for the governor, but for his old confidants, Bill and Hillary Clinton. Somebody say something about Hillary. Where is she? That old hag, she won't let me have any fun on the campaign trail. Anyway, McAuliffe had a business where he was working with Chinese nationals who came into the United States under a special visa program. The visa program is honest, but is corrupt. So says, Dick Morris, if you can believe Dick Morris. But what it says is if you invest $500 million creating jobs in the U.S., you invest in a company, we will give you a visa to come to the U.S. So it's basically cash for visa, only it's legal. And McAuliffe had an enterprise going in, getting a lot of people in under that program, some of whom were barred from admission to the United States because of national security grounds. Oops. The China-based company in question had several members who gave money to McAuliffe's campaign for governor, as well as to the Clinton Foundation, and in some cases to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Dun, dun, dun! But anyway, that's an interesting little tidbit that I'll be following. And if you remember right, the last governor of Virginia is on his way. He and his wife both are on their way to jail for accepting, a wristwatch and some dishes as gifts. But $500 million is okay, but we can't have a Rolex and some dishes or dresses or something. So anyway, keep your ears peeled on that, because McAuliffe actually ran his campaign touting the unethical behavior of the previous governor, because McAuliffe accused him of taking these gifts, which apparently the courts agreed he did take the gifts. But I mean, really, are we saying that a few years in jail for accepting a Rolex is okay, but that $500 million in donating to McAuliffe's enterprise to obtain a visa is okay because McAuliffe and Hillary say so? Just that liberal hypocrisy that we all know so well. But anyway, I'm not sure we're going to have enough time on this last story, so I'm going to try to blow through it really quick. Basically, we go out to the West Coast, from East Coast to West Coast. Yes, we cover the nation. That's what I do. Californians were deceived when the state's Democrat-dominated legislature and governor rammed through legislation granting driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. The extraordinary step of granting driver's licenses to people with no right to be in this country was justified to Californians on the basis of the need to reduce the number of uninsured motorists who cause damage and injury to others without having any means to pay for their losses. Okay? It's now clear after a year and a half that this sales pitch was bullshit. Excuse me. Yeah, you know exactly what it was. Holly McKay of Fox News said it's hard to pinpoint whether the bill has had an impact or not. Jeffrey Spring, a spokesman for the American Automobile Association's California chapter, said we have no way of knowing. The law and a 3-year, $141 million program designed to implement it did not provide for a way to measure if illegal immigrants are any more inclined to buy insurance. How do you feel, Californians? You feel like you got duped? Because you did. This was nothing more than their way of getting people to the polls, is what it's going to be about. But this is, what they vote for out there. I don't get it. There's no statistics regarding how the new license holders under AB 60 purchase vehicle insurance. Hey, Rick, that's a thumbs up on that. All
right.
We can't relate our vehicle insurance data to driver's licenses because the vehicle registration information is only associated with individual vehicles and cannot be used to identify any trends related to AB 60. Because drivers under AB 60 are not tracked or singled out any differently. Ponder this for a moment. The basic architecture of this new program, established at great cost to the taxpayers, made it impossible to determine the promised results were being achieved. Accountability was specifically designed out of the process, a government bureaucrat's standard operating procedure. So anyway, we'll pick this up, folks. We're top of the hour, and I'm not going to hold Rick up on his birthday and run over. We'll pick this story back up next week because it goes into millions upon millions of dollars of waste is what it boils down to. So do yourself a favor. Stay tuned. America Off the Rails will be on in 2 hours. You won't want to miss that. And tomorrow night, JD, Stacy, game on. You got Lou and Doc A, and you got Rick and Jen. And, you just can't beat K98 Talk, folks. That's where you want to be all the time. It's summertime. All your shows are in rerun. Do yourself a favor and get your hands on first-grade entertainment right here every single night in prime time on K98 Talk, a member of the Spark Network. And as always, don't just take my word for it. Do your own homework because that's what matters. And I'll see you next week, I hope, because I start jury duty next Wednesday. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you. God bless, and take care.
All right, so on the way out, folks, I'm going to steal the mic for a second. Just want to remind everybody, we are doing a Memorial Day special over this coming weekend. So anybody who has been affiliated with the service or knows people that have been affiliated with the service, if you want to get your story out, please reach out to Jess at K98Talk.org. She is wanting to put as many of those stories together as we can. And at this point, we are out, folks. You have a good night.
Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.